What's up, everybody? Today on TK Driven, we're going to diagnose and try to fix a shudder in a 2008 Acura TSX, but it will probably be the same procedure for any car that's shuddering like this one is. I'll tell you more about it in just a second. What's up, guys? So this is a 2008 Acura TSX, and just recently it has started to shake, and I mean like violently shake. Steering wheel and everything, the whole front end of the car feels like it's going to fall apart. And if you touch the brakes when this is happening, it gets way worse. Like you think you're not going to stop and something's going to fly off. And the weirdest thing about this is it's intermittent. You can drive the car one time and it will be doing it. Get where you're going, luckily, turn the car off, go into the grocery store or whatever, come back out, and the car will be totally fine. So that's what's really puzzling, is this is intermittent. So I got to looking, and this rear rotor back here is rusty. It doesn't look like this brake has been engaging at all. So I went ahead and pulled the tire off, and now we're going to investigate if this caliper is not functioning. So to get this guy off, and basically any brake caliper on a modern vehicle, there's a bolt here at the top, and there'll be the same one down here, if I could reach it around the camera. And you'll break those guys loose, and you'll be able to pull this caliper off of this rotor assembly. Don't let it dangle in the wind, because your brake line, which is way back there, you don't want to just let the weight of that hang on that brake line. So take your bungee cord or whatever you got to do and tie it up to something, just whatever you can to where it supports the weight. So I'm gonna go ahead and break this off, and we'll see what's going on here. So on this 2008 Acura, these bolts are 12 millimeter. There are also two bolts on the back side right here. They are 14 millimeters. There's one the wrench is on and one below that one. So once you're at this point with the caliper and bracket off, you can get your rotor itself and pull it off. Now if it's seized up, there should be 8 millimeter holes with threads here, and you can take an 8 millimeter typically bolt and run them in there, but this one's already loose, as you can see. Now here's your wheel bearing. You can grab this guy and try your best to move it up and down and left and right, and it's not moving at all. So this bearing should be fine. So now we can investigate as to why this rotor is not being used on one side. This side looks like typical use. This side hasn't been used lately, so I think one side of the caliper was not pressing the brake pad in. So let's investigate that. Alright, I think I figured out what was going on. So on the other side, I've already got them off and you can't see it anymore, so I'll show you what it is. This is the other side of the car, and it's exactly the same as the passenger side. These brake guide pins should be able to move. See this? You can actually take them all the way out. I'm going to re-grease these and everything, but the other sides were in there and you could not get them out. Completely, totally seized. I even put them on a workbench and tried to chisel them out, and they wouldn't move. So I called around to all the local parts stores, and no one had just the bracket. They were going to order it for me the next day, and then I realized that it wasn't much more money to just replace the caliper with the bracket, and they were ready today. So I just went and picked one of those up, and we'll go put it on this other side. This is the passenger side front. And to get access to all this, you can turn the wheels all the way to the right. So I'm going to do that right now. This is your caliper, front passenger side caliper. You can check the pads. You're supposed to be able to check them through here, but it's very difficult for me. I just can't seem to see this front one here. So this is the guide pins that slide inside. And I'm going ahead and check all of these on the whole car, because I found the back one's completely, totally seized up. So I went ahead and checked the driver's side rear and found that they were not seized up, but the pads are almost completely gone. They're almost down to the squeals, the metal squeal tabs. And the driver's front, both of those need to be lubed up. They're not seized, but they're close. So let's go ahead and crack these off, and you'll be able to pull this caliper out and check the pads and see if these guide pins are free. These are 14 millimeters on the front. I believe the back was 12. I'll have to check again in a minute. But these are 14s, and this inner nut right here has spun on the other side. I'm gonna try it without holding it first, but they did spin on the other side. So let's see what we get without holding it here. Nope, that one came loose. And the top, almost. Yeah, there we go. So that's spinning. I assume it's probably not a 3/4 wrench, being that this is an Acura, but I don't have anything large enough in metric, and this seems to fit pretty darn close. So hold that guy, hit it with your ugga-duggas, and do not let your caliper fall off. The backs were almost completely rusted on. This one tried to fall off before I was even ready for it. Do not let these hang on the brake lines. Set him up on top here. If you're going to do any more work, go get a tie strap or something and tie that up. Okay, these pads have all kinds of thickness left. Here's the guide pins. That one's free. Same situation as the other side. That one's a little bit more stuck than the bottom one was stuck on the other side also, but it's actually better than the other side. This one's pretty free too. So I'm just going to leave this like it is. We're going to run to the parts store, get some new parts for the back, and get some lube and lube these guys up. This is the brand new caliper, and it comes with the bracket, and it wasn't a whole lot more money than just trying to source the bracket that no one had. So I just picked up a new one. You can see it's the exact same. It's going to go on just like that, and there's the emergency brake, your brake fluid, and your bleeder valve, and these are the guides. So once we get this set, I'll show you putting the pads and everything in, and hopefully this fixes our shudder. Alright, I've got the actual caliper broken off of this bracket. It makes it a lot lighter. Now I can see maybe if I can get this up here. Okay, now that that's mounted, you can see how a new one is supposed to function. You see how easily that slides and how the boot is brand new. I can feel the grease inside there. That's what you want to see. And if yours aren't doing that, you need to take them out, and hopefully they're not seized up. You can take them out and grease them up yourself, clean them up and grease them. The ones that come off this side were totally seized. I couldn't even chisel them out. So let's see if this gets our shudder fixed. These little metal shims have a tendency to fall off as you're working with them. I use the this full synthetic brake grease and just put a little bit on there and make him a little bit tacky and just stick him up there. And this one won't fall off, but just for total silent operation, in case this part gets a little movement going, a lube it up also, slip him down there. Now you want to put some here in the channel where the brake pads are going to slide. You want to try not to put any of this on your rotor surface. On the TSX, this is the back pad with this part sticking up. Now take your caliper, and without knocking your pads all over the place, get it slid in place. And it did come with new hardware, new guide bolts, or guide bolts I should say. Just get that one started to where I can let go. Get this one started. And I want to get this brake line hooked up as soon as I can, because it's very slowly dripping brake fluid out, and I don't want to waste any more brake fluid than I have to. I only bought one more little thing of it. I had him zip tied up out of the way slightly here So just slide it back down, put your banjo bolt back in there. There we go. Now we're not wasting any more brake fluid. Now come back to your caliper bolts here and start getting them in correctly. The easiest way to reach these is with a wrench like this. And I always have to pull it out and see what I'm working with there. So that's that. This is tightening. This is 14. And I almost always end up going back and checking the tightness of things at least once, if not twice, because it affects the OCD a little bit. There's a sticker, doesn't really matter. Pull that off. Just give it a few taps, put it in place. Now, you can slip a large screwdriver in this spring assembly right here for your emergency brake, parking brake. And get the parking brake on the other side. Push this guy down into there. And now your parking brake is reassembled. Update time. So before we did the passenger side caliper because it wasn't engaging at all. Now I went ahead and replaced the brake pads here on the driver's side. Well, now this one is seized up and it makes me wonder if this wasn't the culprit all along. So I've got a new caliper set here. We're just going to go ahead and replace the driver's side and see if that fixes any of our problems. I got a feeling there was more than one problem. There seems to be some problems on both sides this time. That's the emergency line bracket. Remove that. The new one does not have it. It's really difficult to get this angle to where you can see this. So that's the brake line, emergency brake holder down there. And you slip your brake line back up through that bracket. And then you take your horseshoe clip that you took off and put around that. Now we're ready to bleed the brakes, and you got to get your awesome helpers. These mechanics are paid by the ice creams an hour. So show them what you're going to do, Kai. You're going to smush it in.
Smush it in.
Yeah, push it in.
And
then let it off, and then push it in and hold it. And when you're holding it, Daddy will go crack the bleeder valve. What do you think? Can you do it? Can you do it? Got the tire back on. Let's take it for a test drive and see if we fixed anything. So far so good. No shudders. Steering wheel is perfectly fine. I hope it's fixed. Like I said, paid in ice cream or snow cones. That wraps up today's video. I appreciate you guys liking and subscribing. See you next time.